I just stepped into the Proven Winners catalog. That's right, I'm here at the Spring Meadows Garden. If you've ever been on the Proven Winners social media account, if you get their catalog, if you get their emails, you probably recognize many of the landscapes I'm about to show you. I'm lucky enough to walk around the garden today, and I wanted to take you with me. So here's a quick tour of the beautiful grounds here at Spring Meadow. This is the entrance of the garden from the street, and it is beyond any public garden that I have ever been to. What I didn't realize was that this is actually a private residence. The Spring Meadow Nursery Trial Gardens is also the home of the founder of Spring Meadow Nursery. It is every gardener's dream. The home size to garden ratio is impeccable. It is what I wish I had. He has successfully extended his garden much beyond his original property line, and it is absolutely beautiful. Dale does not use any sort of landscape designer to design his beds or any of the garden spaces on his property. He has placed every single plant that you see in these gardens. He said that he is not a fan of landscape design rules. He doesn't read landscape design books, but follows a very basic principle that I also follow. And as someone with no formal landscape design experience or horticultural experience, it was so nice to hear this from Dale himself. He said to throw out the garden books. He hates garden rules and any sort of constraints in his garden. He follows the principle of planting shorter things up front and taller things in the back. He also says that plants are like furniture, and I've said that before here on this channel. If you don't like where something is or it's outgrown its space, just take a note of it and move it in the fall or the spring. He is constantly moving around plants, and they do just fine. Which made me feel better about how often I have rearranged certain plants, getting to learn how they grow, how quickly they grow, and how much mature space they're going to need later. Another thing you'll notice in his garden is that there are notably very few perennials. I found a few peonies in his garden, but otherwise this garden is a combination of shrubs, trees. There are some annuals, but Dale did mention that he's starting to remove some of the annual beds and convert them into large hydrangea drifts, as he's getting tired of the seasonal maintenance and replacing annuals year after year. And that warms my heart as someone that leans heavy on shrub, trees, and perennials so that I can cut down the maintenance needed in my garden year after year. I bumped into Dale in the garden, and he's still out there digging, changing, pruning. I loved getting a chance to talk with him and hear more about his garden philosophies because I think it's such an encouragement to the new gardener. I also started out not knowing anything about gardening, picking things up as I learned, moving plants around when I realized they weren't in the right spot. And that's okay. That's a garden design strategy all in itself. As long as you keep going, one day, a few years from now, you're gonna think, wow, I can't believe I built this, and you will just enjoy the garden that much more. You'll notice on this garden tour, we are just strolling through the gardens together, and I'm not stopping to do many close-up shots, and that's because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous to misstep on this tour. We were warned when we first walked in that this garden space is also a trial garden space. And what that means is that many of the garden beds include trial plants that Spring Meadow is trialing for upcoming releases for Proven Winners Color Choice. We were asked to not share close-up footage of those plants, and because they are scattered and integrated throughout the landscape, I am very much a rule follower. Where I have plant names, I will insert them, but I want to be respectful, and I definitely wouldn't want to jeopardize any of the amazing development and research work that Spring Meadow is doing. And so that's why we are strolling through the gardens together, admiring plants at a distance. Where I have plant names, I'll insert them. Many of the plants in this garden are Proven Winner Color Choice plants, but some of them are just plants that Dale loves and adds as an avid plant collector, which I can relate with because Japanese maples and conifers, I could collect those all day long. In fact, if I was ever to move out of Atlanta, it would be for the Pacific Northwest because, oh my gosh, the conifer Japanese maple gardens I could build there would thrive so much more than the limited things that love Atlanta's Zone 8A climate. Dale's collection of conifers and Japanese maples are spread across large drifts. Large drifts are something that I'm trying to incorporate more in my own garden, as it just brings together this gorgeous cohesive element in a garden space that even people who garden in a relatively small space like me can do, thanks to so many compact shrubs and trees that are out there on the market now. Dale's garden is broken up into numerous garden rooms, and it is all connected through lawn paths. It's absolutely stunning. He has a number of shady spaces, which are pretty much dedicated to humongous drifts of Hydrangea, Macrophylla, and Serrata species. One hydrangea that absolutely blew me away was this Hydrangea Blue Bunny. There are a few Blue Bunny drifts planted on Dale's property, and it is the most unique hydrangea I have ever seen. It blooms this time of year with these gorgeous lace cap type blooms. It has softer fuzzy leaves, so it should be a little bit more deer resistant than other hydrangea species. And it also has the most unique and fun buds. Instead of your typical hydrangea buds, Hydrangea Blue Bunny has almost peony type buds. It blooms later than other varieties, so I think it would be absolutely perfect to add this type of hydrangea for those renewed lace cap blooms this time of year. And it was absolutely buzzing with pollinators. I was so sad to learn that it was discontinued, but according to Dale, it is just hard to bring to market. Hydrangeas are blooming this time of year when people aren't in the nurseries looking for plants to add to the garden. But I think that's such a shame. I think we need to bring back Hydrangea Blue Bunny so that we can extend the hydrangea flower power all the way into fall and have beautiful lace cap hydrangeas. And not only have paniculata type blooms, but also these beautiful fresh lace cap hydrangea blooms. And you can't just look ahead in Dale's garden, you also have to look up. Many of the mature trees that provide shade in the shade garden are actually planted with a climbing hydrangea. I don't know how old these climbing hydrangeas are, but they were just spectacular, and I can only imagine how beautiful this is when they're in their prime full bloom. Spring Meadow Garden is located right along the Grand River, and the majority of the full sun beds in the garden have the beautiful, beautiful backdrop of the river view. Of course, I fell in love with the hydrangeas. A couple of other things that I wanted to share with you is this gorgeous limelight hydrangea tree. This is a very old limelight hydrangea that Dale had selectively pruned into a multi-branch small tree. And as a small space gardener, I've been sharing for a while that the best compact trees are large shrubs that have been limbed up into a tree form. Many compact trees are in that 15 to 20 foot range, but if you're looking for something in that 10 feet range, it's so much easier to turn to large shrubs and limb them up than try to constantly prune back a tree that actually wants to be about 15 feet tall. One of my favorite groupings in the garden was the circle garden space. And there are two hydrangeas that now I need to try in my garden to see how they perform. The smaller hydrangea is called Let's Dance Sky View. This is now what Proven Winner's color choice is. Instead of calling a reblooming hydrangea, they are calling it a continuous blooming hydrangea. It has been throwing out new blooms continuously, and I would love to see if that holds true in Atlanta as well. The beautiful pinkish hydrangea behind that is Little Lime Punch. It is the most gorgeous shade of pink. Panicle hydrangeas actually do need some cooler weather to turn the pink instead of a crispy brown that typically we kind of see in Atlanta. I am very curious to see if little lime punch would pinken up in a southern climate, because this is so gorgeous and stunning. And you can see this hydrangea here is also throwing out new blooms. So you're getting this variety of white to pink to darker pink tones in one shrub, and that's just stunning. Like I said, I'm not sure that hydrangea layering combo is something that can be achieved in Atlanta. I think here our climate would absolutely burn up any sort of mop head hydrangeas that are planted in full sun. Even, I don't know, maybe if there's a ton of irrigation to that plant, but I know that my hydrangeas, I've had to move in the past because they do get scorched if they get too much sun. Some afternoon shade is definitely appreciated by these hydrangeas. Another thing I was really excited about is spring meadows moving into the edible space. I love mixing food into the landscape. I just think it's really great to be able to not only have a pretty landscape, but to also have a productive one. These plants are all on trial. There is a couple of blackberries currently in the Proven Winners Colors Choice line, but they are looking at trialing for blackberries that won't run as much. And if you've ever planted a blackberry, you know how quickly it can take over a garden, but also for berry size and taste and all that good stuff. I was excited to hear about that. I'm really looking forward to trying some of those plants in my garden in the future. And if you haven't seen the Kinsley's Ghost Honeysuckle, here is an epically beautiful specimen. This beautiful silvery blue column was just created with a couple of T-posts and some cattle wire. And you can see how gorgeous the Kinsley's Ghost Honeysuckle filled in this space and created a really nice upright accent. Dale said these plants are about 3 years old, and the only thing he really does to them now that they're established is just cut away any sort of long shoots that come out. Spring Meadows has a beautiful rose garden as well. Of course, I had to stop to smell the roses. I'm not sure what all of these varieties are, but let me just say these are some of the healthiest, happiest roses that I've seen in a long time. My roses in Atlanta do not look like this right now. I could have spent hours roaming through this garden. It was absolutely incredible, and I'm sure I missed so many things. Much of the garden was separated by larger screening evergreens to create garden rooms. Even the trees that have previously died are somehow beautiful in the Spring Meadow gardens. I don't know how that happened. It was an absolute joy to be able to walk around. I only had about an hour to an hour and a half in the gardens, but I absolutely could have spent all day there. It was a magical place, and I hope you're able to see that through this garden stroll. I really wanted to share this moment with you guys because there's no way I would ever be invited or have the opportunity to walk through these gardens if it wasn't for your support, for your likes, for your comments, for your shares. It means the world. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, how much it means to me, and I hope you enjoyed this garden tour. Maybe you're inspired to take some of Dale's ideas and apply them to your garden for sure. I'm going to be on the lookout for Little Lime Punch as well as the Let's Dance Skyview hydrangeas. Those are two that are now on my wish list, and I'm also going to be thinking about how I can make a larger impact by creating some larger drifts in my garden because this was just stunning. Of course, I may also have to remove some more sod because somehow there is never enough room in the garden. I absolutely can't believe I'm here, and I'm so excited that I'm able to share this with you all. This is definitely not his entire garden. This is just a small portion, but I'm so glad that I was able to share this pinch me moment with you too. I'm leaving inspired, ready to plant some new hydrangeas for fall, and I hope you are too. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting my channel, and I will see you in the next video.